to the Ungovernables, the Captain's Crew, the LFA family, McGroy Nation, coming to you live from the deep red state of Tennessee on rumble.com/LFA TV. Welcome to Ungoverned. We're having a happy hump day this morning. It is very good. Make America Healthy Again is officially underway. That was great. RFK's press conference. We are going to ban the food dye from your products. Although I got to tell you, as fun as it is to try to sound like RFK,
it's a little rough.
Man was on fire yesterday at his press conference. Did you guys see it? We all see it.
No.
Saw part of it. And I am so excited to see him following through on some of the initiatives that were a part of the Make America Healthy Again campaign. Very excited about it because, let's face it, there's stuff in these foods, the dyes, the sugar, the amount of processing, and no diet is going to be perfect unless you sustainably, grow your own stuff, and you're dealing with ranchers and all this, which is great if that's what you could do. Right? I mean, I'm not shaming anyone or saying like you're too neurotic. Like, no, by all means, protect what you're eating. It's not something that everybody can do, but and I'm not one for big government, right? I don't like bans, right? The TikTok ban, the whole cell phones in the classroom ban, that whole thing where I was like, well, if you don't want your kid to have a cell phone in the classroom, just, I don't know. You make maybe consequences that deters it from happening. But when you have actual toxins, like actual nasty, that you wouldn't eat otherwise, that are in your food, all of our food, yeah, I'm okay with the federal government saying, this shouldn't be there. Because it's not really one of those things that you could so TikTok, in my opinion, the TikTok ban, you can avoid. If you don't put TikTok on your phone, you won't die, right? You know what I'm saying? But if you stop eating because your food is contaminating, you will die. Right? You need food. You don't need TikTok. So it's one of those things where I like to look at it from both sides. Like, okay, so they're banning something. I don't generally like when things are banned. However, I do believe that heroin should be illegal. You know what I mean? Because it's immensely harmful for you and addictive to you and all of that. So when I see RFK talking about these food dyes, when I see him talking about sugar, and this has been something that I have believed probably when I start doing this thing, probably 2015. So it's been 10 years that I have, not 10 years straight with no, problems, because, everybody has their periods of time where diets and health things are not sustainable or practical. But for 10 years, I have been a big believer in the keto diet. Big. And in 2015, when I first started doing it, I had people say, oh, well, because genetically I have high cholesterol, and it's just wow, it's wild. I've known people who are 3-4 times my size, and their cholesterol levels are better. It's genes, whatever, it is what it is. But I had people say to me, doctors, friends, they were like, with that cholesterol thing, eating bacon all the time is probably not going to help it. And, I did that with some exercise, got in a really good shape, and everything improved by cutting out carbs. But you need carbs. It's your fuel, right? But the whole point of the keto diet is for your body to basically switch back into that primitive form where your body relies on fat for energy that you provide it and that it stores on you, versus the flash in the pan carbs. It's a whole thing. And it's not for everybody. It doesn't work for everybody. I'm a big believer in it. I watched a Netflix documentary. I don't know if it's still on there. It was on Netflix years ago called The Magic Pill. And I would encourage you to watch it as Make America Healthy Again starts to take effect here. And I'm not saying that everybody has to eat keto, and I'm not saying that everybody has to cut carbs, and I'm definitely not saying that there's a one-size-fits-all diet that's going to improve everyone's life equally, because that doesn't exist, right? It's like, Common Core may have been good for some students, I don't know who, but it's not good for all, right? So it's not this one-size-fits-all thing, but there are immense benefits. It was a diet that was developed to treat a drug-resistant epilepsy. It has neurological benefits. I have noticed that the severity and frequency of migraines go away or decrease significantly for me by about 80% when I'm on, the diet, practicing it, regularly and consistently. So I have seen how addictive and how damaging and how just nasty sugar is. Does it taste good? Hell yeah, it tastes good. I ate some Easter candy yesterday because it tastes good. But what tastes good in the moment isn't necessarily very good for you down the road. And that's the whole thing. And it's addictive. That's why it's addictive, because it tastes good, right? Why do people consume copious amounts of marijuana, alcohol, cigarettes? Because the effect of doing it makes you feel good in the moment. I mean, even coffee, right? It's got the caffeine. It's like, boom, I'm awake. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic, right? Like I'm ready to go. But sugar has as some of the most addictive, it's like almost as addictive as cocaine and crack. It activates the same pleasure receptors in the brain. RFK Jr. literally, he called sugar poison yesterday. That's not to say if you eat apples and like strawberries, naturally occurring sugar, that you're poisoning yourself. But your sodas, your iced teas, that high fructose corn syrup, that stuff's no good for you. Even that white granulated powdered sugar, like that's it's sugar, whatever. It's not the worst thing, but you should be looking for that sugar in the raw, like that cane sugar stuff. It's not bleached. It's just so many things. And look, everybody's got different circumstances financially, what's practical, work life, etc., where, some things are going to fall through the cracks. It's just going to happen. If I could eat grass-fed beef every day of my life, I would. But if I did that, we wouldn't have a house. It's too expensive. Sad reality, right? But when I saw, and I haven't always been very that's not my top issue for the country, and it hasn't been. I care about, the border, government spending, corruption, the foreign affairs with different countries like Russia, China, etc., Iran. Like those are the things that I really, really am hyper fixated about. But having a healthy country, electorate, just physically, but also mentally is extremely important. So I was very excited to see RFK Jr. yesterday essentially lay out or take his first steps with this Make America Healthy Again agenda, as he essentially declared war on food dyes. And people may look at that and say, what's who cares? It's just food dye. Look, I used to think the same way, even down to when I first started doing the keto diet. I was like, how much different could it be if I just don't eat pasta and I don't eat, pretzels and these I don't have sandwiches and all that. If I just basically do meat and vegetables, low carb, how much different? Oh, it could be different. And I'm telling you, watch that documentary, The Magic Pill. It's about the keto diet, and specifically a doctor who started to push it I believe, in South Africa. And the government of South Africa went after him like the deep state went after Trump. Why? I call it big bread, right? Because you had the cereal companies. All of a sudden, they see this guy basically uncovering the fact that that stuff is bad for you. I used to say this. People, in high school, they were like, did you eat? I used to never eat breakfast. I used to sleep, take a shower, go to school. And people were like, some of my teachers and some people, well, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And I'm like, okay, well, if it's the most important meal, why are you eating Frosted Flakes? That's literally just sugar. Right? So, or like, just look at cereal. It's essentially candy. Not that it doesn't taste good. Pancakes, I love me some pancakes. And syrup. But come on, that's not good for you. If it's true the most important meal of the day, why are we eating garbage? Eggs, bacon, that's what I like. Anyway, we're going to get to some of that. I'm excited for today's show because I think there's a lot of people who didn't necessarily know that we wanted Make America Healthy Again, but now we kind of see it and we're like, okay, this is cool. And it is something to be fired up about. And it's something that we could all practice. Even if the government isn't getting involved, it's something we can all practice. I would highly encourage everybody to listen to RFK when he talks, even though it's sometimes difficult to understand what he's saying. That's a joke. But, and again, I'm not saying everyone has to switch and do all their frying and cooking in beef tallow. It's, folks, I get it financially. I can't do it either. But little by little, we can make better choices, and I think that's the overall point. RFK, you know me, I'm like, you're in control of everything, right? Nobody forces you to do drugs. Nobody forces you to drink. Nobody forces you to eat carbs and eat too much. Nobody forces you to have a sedentary lifestyle. Like, these are all conscious decisions, and they're unhealthy habits that have been ingrained, and it is up to us to undo the unhealthy habits. And for me, the best way to do it is cold turkey. I'm just like, this is the new lifestyle. Some people, it's like, I can't just do that drastic switch. For me, I got to just, rip the Band-Aid off, right? Like, yesterday was a mess with the food, and today is going to be back to keto, and we're going to go as long as we can. All right. Enough of that for now. We'll get to more of that. We also have, they call them Dems 13. I'm also going to start calling them Dems de Aragua. They are very upset they're going to be very upset about something that just happened in New York City. 99% decrease in the southern border, 95% decrease on the northern border. We will touch back on the Kristi Noem story. She got robbed in D.C. And then another story out of Minnesota. And if we get to it, Pam Bondi, it's not bad. It isn't bad. Let us know where you're watching from in the chat, folks. We're going to get to word from our friends over at OFP Farms. It's OFPFarms.com. Oscar Foxtrot PapaFarms.com. Take a look. Quick video from OFP Farms. You got the goats, the goat milk products. They're the best goat farmers in the country, and they have some of the best products in the country. It is OFP Farms. It is the Mother's Day sale on the website right now. OFP, Oscar Foxtrot PapaFarms.com. Mother's Day sale on OFPFarms.com, OFPFarms.com, promo code SHAWN. Mother's Day is right around the corner, May 11th. Their gift boxes for Mother's Day are always second to none. They've got jaw-dropping discounts right now. Get on the website. Get in while the getting's good. OFPfarms.com, promo code SHAWN. OFPfarms.com, promo code Sean. Get your Mother's Day gift sets, 20% off. OFPfarms.com, promo code SHAWN. Listen, I always tell you guys in the chat, to be like Dylan Filion, right, from Iowa. Be like Dylan. Dylan got his mom hopefully she doesn't watch the show. Dylan got his mom a Mother's Day gift set from OFPfarms.com. So once again, be like Dylan. All right. Switch to number 2USA.com. Our good friend Maria over there at Switch to USA has a word for you as well. It's a great way to get around the inflation, to beat the tariffs, right? Is to shop with an American company, all-American company, American factory that is switch to number 2USA.com. If I could find it, there it is. Switch to number 2USA.com.
We all want to make a difference in our country and make change, but we don't all have the ability to do so. A lot of people are busy. They can't join school boards. They can't get on borough council, but they can change where they shop. And it's just shopping. It's that simple.
We're going to link arms and we're going to shop right here at this American factory. They make the products and they're all natural and they're good for us and they're affordable. Everything's made here in the USA.
That's switch number 2USA.com. Switch to USA.com. You see it on your screen. We're talking about how the world's gone nuts with supply chain issues, record-setting inflation, sky-high gas prices. We know how the big box stores stayed open all the old time. Fauci's wealth doubled while we were getting crushed. But what are we going to do about it? Well, you can vote with your dollars, vote with your wallet. That's the best way to make a difference. And shop factory direct at a family-owned, made-in-America manufacturer for all of your monthly consumables, toothpaste, shaving cream, laundry detergent, shampoo, healthy snacks, and now grass-fed beef, all delivered right to your door. Switch away from made in China. Switch to made in the USA. It's one of the best ways to get around the inflation and beat the tariffs. Join the parallel economy. Join the massive sweep that's happening through Patriot Nation. Decide today that you want to be a part of the movement to cut off their cash flow. You sign up, my friend Maria will give you a call back to enroll you, and then you can start shopping at this privately owned mom and pop. That's switch to number 2USA.com. Switch to number 2USA.com. Switch to number 2, the numero dos. Switch to USA.com. All right. We'll take a quick breath. I'm getting lightheaded again, like the vertigo's back.
I've been getting that a lot lately too.
It's very weird. I think it's the allergies. I got like fluid all over the place. But last week when I flew out to West Virginia to go on Tim Pool's show, the plane had, I would tell you, it was this on steroids, right? We had the seatbelt sign. It was like the fasten everything sign. The turbulence was out of control. And it wasn't like just bumpy. It was for like 40 minutes. And it was like, woo, 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 like up, down, left. It's like that scene from Independence Day where Jeff Goldblum's father, the Jewish dad, was like, it can go up and down and side to side. And I'm like, that's exactly what happened. And then I had like vertigo for like 2 days. I couldn't sit in a car without getting like sweaty and sick. It was gross. But let's make America healthy again. Let's defeat the vertigo, right? I don't know. Maybe it'll work. RFK Jr. as the new Secretary of Health and Human Services and his FDA commissioner have revealed that petroleum-based food dyes will be removed from the U.S. food supply. Now, you know me, as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, I don't like bans. I don't like, I'm not saying this is what it is, so don't take it the wrong way, but I don't like government overreach, okay? That's not what this is. In my opinion, this is the government saying, hey, this stuff that's in our food, it's not good, and it shouldn't be in our food, and your food isn't going to change other than what it looks like if you remove these dyes. So let's go ahead and say, like, what is it? What is that bad one? Red 40? Is that one of the bad ones, Brennan? Red 40. I don't know. Can you do a quick Google search, Brent, and ask and just find out, is Red 40 what makes Swedish fish red?
I think it is.
Okay, so let's take a look at that. Well, we get that answer. If Red 40 is what makes Swedish fish red, and I love me some Swedish fish. It is. So Swedish fish is colored by red dye 40. So that is a petroleum-based food dye. So, like, if you remove that from Swedish Fish, right? Does anything about the product other than the color change? Right? Or is it like is it still going to taste the same, right? The red dye isn't sweetened. Right? Red 40 has fetal kidney cells in it. Is that true? Red dye has fetal kidney cells? I wouldn't be surprised. Yikes. Holy cow. So, like, if Swedish Fish weren't red, but they still taste the same, I'd probably still like to eat them. Ashley says you can use beets to color. That's true. Because I know what happens if you eat too many beets. Everything turns red. You think you're peeing blood. That was crazy the first time it happened. I was like, I have a problem. Brennan's like, no, you just ate beets. I was like, okay. Whew. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Food and Drug Administration Commissioner Marty Makary announced that petroleum-based food dyes would be removed from the U.S. food supply. I'm going to go to a clip from that press conference yesterday. Take a look.
When I met with, and I want to commend the food companies for working with us to achieve this agreement or this settlement. And when I went in a few months or about a month ago to meet with the food companies, I was talking with my staff about these petroleum-based dyes, and I said if they want to add petroleum, if they want to eat petroleum, they ought to add it themselves at home. But they shouldn't be feeding it to the rest of us. And without our knowledge or consent. And unfortunately, we're going to get rid of the dyes, and then one by one, we're going to get rid of every ingredient and add it into school in food that we can legally address.
I love what he said, right? Like, if you so badly want to eat petroleum, then eat petroleum, but don't force it on the rest of us. And that's an argument that I think a lot of us have made in the past, right? Like, let's take that argument and apply that to the trans issue, right? Like, if you want to wear a dress and you're a dude, wear it. Like, I don't really care. It's when you start to force the ideology on the rest of the people, right? So if you are a food company, if you're like, no, I only want to eat things with red dye 40, okay, go dye your foods red then with red dye 40. But just because you want to do it doesn't mean we want to do it. I saw a comment in the chat, I'm not sure who it was, but it's all about marketing, right? Like, imagine if Gatorade had some of these dyes in it, which I'm sure it does. Well, Gatorade is going to all look pale, right? But it's not as like attractive. You're walking past the shelf, you see a pale sports drink, you're like, oh, that can't possibly taste good because it doesn't have bright colors. That's like the problem. And the funniest part is, like, energy drinks, they're all in them cans. You pour them out, it doesn't look like something that tastes good. But most energy drinks, some of them taste really good. Right? But the point of the matter is it's marketing. Swedish Fish, people see them as just red, all these colors, gummy bears, jelly beans, right? All these things that are dyed. And I think there's even dyes in meats. Right? I think they dye the meat red. I don't know if that's red 40. I hope it's not. I'm not exactly sure. But, he talks about if you really want to eat petroleum, right? And another one, the left, they love the whole taxes, right? That everyone's got to pay higher taxes. Well, you could start, right? You could be the first one. Like, how about you lead by example? You want to pay more in taxes? Pay more. Don't force me to pay more. I don't want to. And this comes down to choices, right? Personal accountability. It was revealed that the HSS and FDA were announcing a series of new measures to phase out all petroleum-based synthetic dyes. Per the press release, the FDA will establish a national standard and timeline for the food industry to transition from petrochemical-based dyes to natural alternatives. Who was it in the chat that said you can dye things with beets? Well, look, all I'm saying is you could take the petroleum-based dyes and you phase them out. Now, all of a sudden, you've given farmers an excuse to grow a lot of beets because their beets can be harvested and turned into dyes. Isn't that a good thing for our farmers? I'm not saying this is going to make your life, right, if you're a farmer and all of a sudden, but if there's now an increased demand for beets in the country because we're going to use them to create red dye, and I'm sure there are other crops and natural alternatives to the other dyes that are out there. The process to revoke authorization for 2 synthetic food colorings, citrus red number 2 and orange B, within the coming months. That's underway. The FDA will also work with the food industry, quote, to eliminate 6 remaining synthetic dyes: FD&C green number 3, FD&C red number 40, FD&C yellow number 5, FD&C yellow number 6, FD&C blue number 1, FD&C blue number 2 from the food supply by the end of next year. FD&C, I believe, stands for food dye and coloring. The FDA will also authorize 4 new natural color additives in the coming weeks, while also accelerating the review and approval of others. Other studies have found that artificial colors that create vibrant colors mess with the child's developing brain to make ultra-processed foods more attractive, even when the child already feels full. These studies have associated food colors directly with obesity and diabetes, while America's children are sick and suffering. 41% of children have at least one health condition. 1 in 5 are on medication. The answer is not more Ozempic, look, when it comes to Ozempic, right? And when it comes to unnatural weight loss solutions, I am not going to shame anybody for taking it. I am not going to criticize anybody for taking it if you need it. Now, I look at Ozempic, I look at these unnatural weight loss solutions basically the same way I look at welfare, right, and food stamps. If you find yourself in a position where you need it to get back on your feet, I am totally fine with you using that system to get back on your feet, as long as you don't rely on that to keep you on your feet. You get it? You hire a personal trainer. You hire a nutrition coach, right, to put you on a path to better fitness and better health, right? You clean up your diet. You start regularly exercising because you have the nutrition coach kind of overseeing what you eat and the personal trainer essentially overseeing your exercise routine. But eventually you're not going to pay them anymore because those people have shown you what you can do, right, to live a better and healthier lifestyle. Well, if you're only healthy because other people are telling you to be healthy, then you're never going to achieve long-term good health. You see what I'm saying? Because you're not taking the initiative. You're waiting to be told to do something. I've seen Ozempic culture kind of become this thing in the country where, well, it's okay if I get fat because there's a quick fix to it. I could just take Ozempic. Well, no, you shouldn't just rely on that. Now, I've known people who have had legitimate metabolic disorders, right? Like they can't lose weight even if they starved. Right? If they ate celery, they'd find a way to put. That's a totally different story that is out of your control. But there are people who eat themselves into a situation. And I'm sorry if this sounds harsh, but it's the truth. There are people who eat themselves into a situation, whether it's obesity, depression, diabetes, any cancer, irritable bowel syndrome, any of these things are, we do have to look back and look at our choices, and then the same goes for drugs. Look, I hate to say this, but it's hard to become a drug addict on accident. It's hard to become an alcoholic. Oopsie. You are the one drinking. You are the one smoking. You are the one doing the drugs. You are the one eating the food. It is your hand picking up the donut and putting it in your mouth. Don't tell me that decision is not under your control, because it is. And that should empower you. It's not about shaming. It's about saying, hey, you have more power than you realize over these types of things. You do. Cravings are just cravings. That's all they are. And the same goes for people who watch porn. They're like, oh, I can't help myself. Yes, you can. Nobody's holding a gun to your head, signing you up on OnlyFans and making you sit there and watch what you're watching. You know, it's you got to take personal accountability. Now, again, if you have a metabolic disorder and cleaning up your diet doesn't help, then I would absolutely advise that you seek another solution, Ozempic or, a gastric bypass or something that, lap band, whatever it may be, to help you get back on your feet. The problem is now that Ozempic exists, people will eat themselves into a bad situation and then pill themselves out of that situation into another situation where you're reliant on a pill to maintain your fitness. That's ridiculous. And it looks like RFK Jr. wants to stop that. As much as I love the Jardiance song, I have type 2 diabetes and I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily Jardiance at each day start. Sing it. You all want to do it. As time went on, it was easy to see. I'm lowering my A1C. Come on, you had to do it. I know you all did it. I know everybody just sang the Jardiance song. But even Jardiance, I love the song because it's catchy. But you have diabetes? Instead of trying to actually fix the problem, you're gonna just treat symptoms, and that's the problem. Again, I'm not saying if you take Jardiance, you're a bad person or you've made a stupid decision or what. No. You're in a situation now where you may need it. The bottom line is a lot of these health problems come down to the decisions that we make, what we put on our plate. And I'm not telling you that everything I eat is perfect, okay? My beef, my pork, it all comes from a supermarket. I don't know what's in it. I don't know. Guys, I hope my beef and pork isn't mRNA vaccinated, but the bottom line is I have no clue. I know that the cow that gets slaughtered and the pig that gets slaughtered is in an environment that's not natural, and so there's probably increased levels of stress hormones in the meat. I get it. I understand all of that. I'm not telling you that I'm the poster child of health. I'm far from it. What I'm telling you is that what you put on your plate, you put on your plate. And even if financially things aren't, available, resources aren't available there for you to do all these different things and implement all these different changes, there are still ways to clean up what you're eating. Clean up what you're putting in your body. Make better choices for your long-term health. And this is why I love what RFK Jr. is doing, because at the end of the day, he's putting the power to be healthy back in your hands, while also mandating that that unnecessary products like these dyes aren't in your food. All right, quick break, then we'll get to what he said about sugar, because this is something that I heard and I was like, finally somebody says it. Finally somebody said it. All right. Folks, first a word from our friends at American Financing. With everything that's happening in the economy, it feels like that we're all walking on eggshells, walking on shaky ground. Prices are kind of stuck at a high level. Seems like nothing is affordable anymore. It's no wonder why many people are relying on credit cards to cover the gaps. Credit card debt is skyrocketing. It's leaving a lot of people stressed out. If you're a homeowner, you don't have to face this uncertainty alone. My friends at American Financing are going to help you take control. They can help you access the equity in your home to help you pay down that high-interest credit card debt, giving you peace of mind and real savings. On average, people just like you are saving $800 a month. Plus, they may close your loan in as little as 10 days. Don't let the chaos of the economy get the best of you. Call American Financing now. It costs you nothing to get started. And you may delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you a little cushion during these uncertain times. Give them a call at 866-885-8027. 866-885-8027. 866-885-8027 or AmericanFinancing.net/FARASH. AmericanFinancing.net/FARASH. 866-885-8027. NMLS number 182334, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. We also have a word and a look at the LFA TV website, the LFA TV store. That's, of course, over at LFATV.us. You see it right there on your screen right now for you. Click on that store tab. Click on the Visit the Store tab, and you will see everything that there is to offer here at the LFA TV store, you have the Made America Great Again shirt, which I happen to think would be a phenomenal gift for yourself, but also a great gag gift for some of those liberals who would get triggered by something like that. You know, it's a $30 purchase, and you can have a great laugh for it. Where are you going to get more laughs for $30, right? So Made America Great Again. I love the mugs. The tumblers are nice. Obviously, I'm a flannel enthusiast, to say the least. So you got the flannels there. Rise Up coffee. You got the ball caps, the tank tops, the sweatpants. Everything that you could possibly imagine. There's something for everybody here. So check out the LFA TV store, lfatv.us or jeremyherald.com/store, lfatv.us or jeremyherald.com/store. All right. A little sip of tea. I'm rolling the mint ginger today. Good for the stomach. Obviously, the allergies are off the charts this morning here in the great red state of Tennessee. I want to get to this because the comments that RFK made about sugar, I think it would be it'd be prudent for everyone to listen to this and think about what else he means besides just sweet things. Listen.
There's things that we'll never be able to eliminate, like sugar. And sugar is poison. And Americans need to know that. It is poisoning us. It's giving us a diabetes crisis. When I was a kid, I always say this, a typical pediatrician would see one case of diabetes in his lifetime. Today, it's 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door. In our most recent study from NIH, 38% of American teens, it's half our adult population. This is existential. We are spending as much on mitochondrial disorders like diabetes as we spend on our military budget. We can't continue to exist like this.
38% of American teens are diabetic. 38% of American teens. This used to be something that, wouldn't impact you till you got a little older. Holy moly. Listen, I agree with RFK that sugar, it is a toxin. Not that apple, again, strawberries, apples, oranges, bananas. I'm not saying these things are toxic.
What's sprayed on them is.
Yeah, what's sprayed on them, that appeal stuff.
And all the pesticides.
But the sugar in there, it's natural sugar. Again, can you eat yourself into a bad situation if you eat too many apples? Of course you can.
Where can they find the full press conference that he did?
Oh, probably on his ex, RFK, or just you could YouTube it, or I think it was like a 20-minute press conference or an 11-minute speech from him, and then Makari spoke later. As Eli's talking about, cancer feeds off of sugar, but I want you to think of something else, because I don't want anyone to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die because I'm Italian and I eat pasta. Sugar, our bodies right now default to metabolizing carbohydrates to create glucose. Right? Glucose is sugar. And just because something isn't sweet doesn't mean that it's not elevating your blood sugar or your blood glucose levels, and that can still cause diabetes. You could get people who don't eat sweet things but eat potato chips and bread and pretzels all day long and high-carb foods and still wind up diabetic, because what they're eating is still turning into sugar, too much sugar. So it's not just about the sweet stuff. The sweet stuff is more addictive. It activates that pleasure receptor. And again, this is not a one-size-fits-all, like everybody has to live by these standards. But again, I really would encourage you to watch, and I don't know if it's still on Netflix. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. The Magic Pill. And there's nothing in it for me here, folks. I'm not saying everyone has to do the ketogenic diet, or you have to eat low carb. There have been extensive studies about what happens to you when you cut sugar out of your life. Whether it's soda, whether it's candy, or it's your favorite high carb dish, which still contributes to elevating your blood sugar. Some of these things, like he mentioned, it's a poison. It's a toxin. And people are like, oh, I don't eat a lot of sugar, but you see that their diet is bread, a lot of high carb foods, and that is sugar, folks. That eventually turns into sugar when it's metabolized. Again, I'm not saying if you do that you're doing something wrong. I'm just telling you what's happening. I don't want you to think that this is like you eat pasta, bad. No, that's not necessarily. If you exercise and you keep yourself active, and you're probably not going to run into a problem. The issue is, in today's America, you have people who are working 10 plus hours a day just to get by, to afford to keep a roof over their head. There's only 24 hours a day. You're sleeping for maybe 6 to 7 of them. So take 6 hours plus 10 for the work day. I used to work, when I worked Sherwin, I was 9.5 hour days usually. You have the drive back and forth. So you figure that's a 10 or so hour day. 6 hours of sleep. Hour or so in the morning to get ready. You've got maybe 8 or 9 hours a day, 8 hours a day left that you can, put towards being healthy. And it's not an 8 hour gap. It's like a little bit here in the morning before you do this, and then a little bit in the evening before you go back. Like, it's not easy. I'm not saying it is. That's why we need somebody like an RFK in there who actually cares about this stuff. I've never heard an American politician or political figure or cabinet member talk about the health crisis the way I've heard RFK talk about the health crisis. And a healthy country is a strong country. And I'm not saying that 100% of our country's unhealthy. But if 38% of America's teens are diabetic, that is a problem. And there are stories in that documentary, The Magic Pill, where folks who were diabetic cleaned up their diet and ate, were put on a ketogenic diet, and their diabetes was cured. So, again, I'm not saying it's a one-size-fits-all. I'm not saying if you eat nothing but sugar that you're going to get diabetes. I'm not saying that if you have a carb-rich diet because it works for you and it's easy, that you're doing something wrong. What I'm telling you is that sugar as a substance overall is a net negative. It's a net negative. It doesn't mean it's going to tank your life. And I've seen testimony from people, and again, it's anecdotal. I'm not saying this is a cure-all, but folks who have, eat lower carbs and maybe you're in ketosis for a lot, it helps fight off Alzheimer's and dementia. It starves cancer of what it's looking for. And I think I think we should want to do that. And I'll tell you what, I always mention the short-term pain for the long-term gain. I've known people who have tried to do this diet and they're like, I can't get past the first week. I'm sweating. I get these flu symptoms. I can't sleep. I'm irritated. I got a headache, brain fog. But I'm just telling you, stick with it if you do it. Because the long-term benefits of it, my goodness.
I'm doing it, so if I can do it, you can do it.
Yes, Brennan's doing it.
I'm a carbie.
I remember in 2020, the first half of 2020, actually really the first 3 quarters of 2020, till I decided, let's be an activist. Let's start doing things. But no, I would do it all over again the same way. I remember in that first 3 quarters of 2020 up until around September, it was COVID. I took it very seriously. exercised every morning. The power went out, didn't matter. I hung a light off the ceiling in the basement and was throwing kettlebells around the basement, even if the power went out. Like, it was one of those things where it was healthy habits. We're going to take it seriously. We're going to eat. I ate keto, and I did it for months in a row. Weeks. I mean, maybe a cheat here and the next day right back in. And I'll tell you, I have never felt better. I never looked better. It was one of those things where, my goodness, it was so rewarding, but you got to stick with it and commit. If it works for some people, it doesn't work for. I'm not going to say it works for. I know people who have done it and they've had nothing but bad experiences. They've given it a good, but I mean, your brother, right? Tanner's having great results with it. My mom has done keto.
I'll report back.
She used to get, I mean, the migraines run on that side of the family. She used to get them. Not so much anymore. It's hard, that side of the family is Italian. So we did a lot of pasta and, bread and all that. But, I mean, she's a nut about it now in a good way.
Yeah, Tanner lost 60 pounds.
I'll tell you what, your brother lost 60 pounds. When I was, 13, 14 years old, my pediatrician was thinking about putting me on Lipitor because of my cholesterol. Lipitor, a statin drug, and I could never, they put me on a low-fat diet. I ate green food for a long time, salads and all this. We did the fat-free, and it went up. I started doing keto, and my LDL dropped. My HDL went up. Everything started to look beautiful. Again, worked for me. I'm just telling you my experience. And I today is back to, another day one, and we're going to do it again for as long as we can. Give it a shot. Maybe it'll work for you. I want to get back to that 2020 lifestyle. It's hard when you're busy. It is. 2020, it was wake up. I'm in the store, Sherwin-Williams at 10. I'm usually out by 7:30. So I would get up around 7, work out for an hour and a half, 2 hours, drive to the store. Things change when your lifestyle changes. So, but it was a really good time. Being in, just feeling better, right? Feeling better. All right, we talked a lot about health today, which is a good thing. I want to touch on, we will do the 99% and 95% border stuff tomorrow because I want to get to this Kristi Noem story. Before we do that, I want to get to a word from our friends over at OFP, not OFP Farms, sorry, we love OFP Farms though. Nothing personal. Armra Colostrum, tryarmra.com, tryarmra.com/LFA TV, TRY, I almost said GRY. What is that? TRYARMRA.com/LFA TV. Folks, it's Armra Colostrum. It's right here. I'm always looking for ways, we just talked about it, ways to improve my metabolism, improve my fitness, endurance, strengthen my immunity and gut health. This is Armra Colostrum. It can work for you. I would encourage you to go ahead and do it. I think Dylan took Armra Colostrum too. He says he likes it. Dylan is showing his love to all of our sponsors, which we love, right? We love that. Bad Moon, I know, says he's taking it too. Helped us back, I think, right? Colostrum is the first nutrition we receive in life. Contains all the essential nutrients that our bodies need in order to thrive. It'll help reactivate your hair growth and help your skin glow. Stimulate your stem cells and collagen production, increase elasticity for plumper skin, guard against UV damage, chemicals and pollutants from the environment. It'll help clear blemishes for a glowy complexion. It'll also help fortify your gut health and ignite your metabolism and fuel your fitness, performance, and recovery. Just go to this website. That's TRY, Armra, ARMRA.com/LFA-TV, tryarmra.com/LFA-TV. tryarmra.com/Lima Foxtrot Alpha Tango Victor. Mrs. Speak also takes the Armra Colostrum. We talked to her about that last year. Oh, yeah? Yeah, she said she had pretty good experience with it. TRYARMRA.com, tryarmra.com/LFA-TV for 15% off. tryarmra.com/LFA-TV for 15% off. Consequences or nothing changes, right? Laws only matter if they are enforced, right?
Right.
The left is becoming emboldened here. And they said, there was maybe a homeless guy. The fact of the matter is, if you are, look, I'm not doing this to scare you. I'm not trying to tell you that you have to constantly look over your shoulder. I'm not saying the boogeyman's out to get you. What I am saying is if you are a conservative, and you know this is not new, you are a target. Okay? If you are a conservative, you are a target. If you're a member of Trump's administration, you are a target. If you wear your MAGA hat out in public, you are a target. If you're outspoken on social media, you are a target. It's not a bad thing. It means you're doing something right. But know this, you are a target. Kristi Noem, a couple days ago, was robbed in a D.C. restaurant. Someone made off with her bag, her purse, with $3,000 cash in it. Where are the consequences? Minnesota. A state employee works for Tim Walz, was arrested for Tesla vandalism. He caused almost over $20,000 in damages. But because he's a leftist, and because a Soros-backed district attorney is serving the jurisdiction where this happened, he is going to avoid charges. Anybody here from the great state of Minnesota? I know Sandman's here from Minnesota. He watches from Minnesota. Anybody else from Minnesota? It's open season on you guys in Minnesota. I'm not saying you got to start violent. You know I'm not violent. I don't want you to be violent. I'm just telling you, this is what you're dealing with. This woke fiscal policy analyst for Minnesota's Department of Human Services, his name is Dylan Bryan Adams, will not face criminal charges after being caught on video allegedly causing over $21,000 in damages to Tesla vehicles. 33 years old, arrested April 16th in connection with a series of vandalism incidents, but was quickly released. Instead of facing prosecution, he will be allowed to enter a diversion program. How many January 6th defendants were allowed to enter a diversion program? I get it, federal versus state. I understand. My point is, if this guy was a MAGA hat wearing guy and he keyed somebody's Tesla in Minnesota, do you think he's getting admitted into a diversion program to keep him from facing prosecution and keep his criminal record clean? This is a legal route that's often reserved for first-time nonviolent offenders. In my opinion, causing $21,000 of damage is pretty freaking violent. If he successfully completes the program, the vandalism will not go on his criminal record. In other words, he went out there, he caused $21,000 in damages in multiple instances across the state, will not face charges, will not have anything to be accountable for, will not have anything on his record. What do you think is going to start happening in Minnesota now? Because I think leftist crazy people are going to go, hey, he got a diversion program. First time, we could just use that as the precedent. It is bullcrap. If that guy was a MAGA guy, he would be in jail right now. At the very least, there would be no diversion program. But because he's a good little leftist, he gets treated like a super citizen. No. I'm sorry, this is ridiculous. I don't know if federal charges can be filed for those whose Teslas have been damaged. They better sue him in civil court for those damages. There should be civil action taken against this guy. You talk about privilege, right? He's white and he's a leftist. There's your privileged class. I am so tired. We're 4 minutes away. I am so tired of every time a leftist does something that is in violation of the law, every single time, whether it's a transgender activist who's making death threats, Whether it's somebody making threats against Donald Trump, whether it's this guy in Minnesota, if you're a white liberal, everything's fine. Yeah, I'm going there. I am so tired. Antifa can burn down a whole city and not face a single consequence. But if Grandma went to D.C. on January 6th and said a prayer on the steps of the Capitol, she's in prison. When Bevelyn Williams went to an abortion clinic and protested, she went to jail until Donald Trump pardoned her. When Douglas Mackey posted a meme about Hillary Clinton, he's facing prison. When Daniel Penny defended himself and other people on a subway, they tried him for murder. But when a good little white yuppie liberal in Minnesota causes $20,000 plus in damages to other people's stuff, he gets offered a diversion program to avoid charges and not have it go on his record. You want to talk about privilege? There's your privileged class, and I'm tired of it. Finally, honorable mention to our Attorney General. This is an important issue. I don't know what it's going to lead to, but it's an important issue. Pam Bondi has launched a task force. Great. Look, I'm not going to poo-poo it 100% because it's an important issue. The anti-Christian bias is real. We've seen it. So she's launched a task force. Where does it go? I don't know where it goes, folks. I have no idea. I just put it in there because, she's, we ask what she's doing, and apparently that's what she's doing. If it leads to some good things, I will commend it. If it leads to nothing, we'll just look back at that and say, here's another thing that Pam Bondi did that didn't lead to anything. I certainly hope that it does lead to something. The anti-Christian bias is real. So at the very least, it's being looked at. We'll see what happens. Between Bondi and Harmeet Dillon, who is, I think, civil rights. She's working high up in the civil rights wing of the Department of Justice. Maybe we will see something. And I actually agree with OSS Ninja when he just said, look, I'm not saying I want anybody to do this, but when someone gets killed for messing with the wrong car, it might stop. I'm not saying I want that to happen. I don't want it to happen. I would like it to stop without people dying. But that's it. And I'm not telling anybody who's watching this to kill somebody who attacks your Tesla. What I'm saying is if it comes to that, that might be what it takes. And it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate that that's what it has to come to. But that is the unfortunate truth. That is the unfortunate truth. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and listening. We are off to run to join Michael Patrick Leahy of the Tennessee Star, who has been on an absolute tear, uncovering information about Kilmar Abrigo Garcia and his traffic stop here in the state of Tennessee in 2022. So we are off to join the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. You can follow him on X at Michael P. Leahy. I believe that is his handle. I'm going to double check that right now. But we will be on, at Michael P. Leahy, Leahy. So we'll be on his show for the 11 o'clock hour. Here Central Time, 12 o'clock Eastern Time. We're going to be joining his show. We appreciate everybody watching and listening. Jeremy Harrell coming up next for the next 2 hours with Live from America. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. I'm not sure about Misfit tonight. I'm sure I'll hear from him at some point throughout the day, and we'll get that squared away. He posted something yesterday that he's having a little bit of a hard time. The whole thing with his mom is finally hitting him, and he's taking some time. So, look, I'm not going to pressure him. If he wants to do a show, we'll do the show. If he needs some time, we'll take some time. It's okay. But if we are going to do it, you'll see me post it on Truth Social over there, the link to his channel. Thank you so much for watching and listening. As President Trump says, we will never give up. We will never give in. We will never, ever surrender. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place, rumble.com/LFA TV, in the words of John Fetterman. Good night, everybody. Bang out.